First thing we got to talk about is all the codes that go along with stairs. Got a little set of stairs, just 4 drawings, but first code you got to know in residential is this cannot be greater than 8 inches. No more than 8 inch on your rise. This is called your rise. This is called your run. Can be greater than 8, and it can't be shorter than 10 this way. 8 and 10. So you could run a 4-inch rise and a 2-foot run if you want, but you can't go less than 10 on the run. Can't go greater than 8. It's different in commercial, but we're not doing commercial. Another thing is the distance here. After you cut your notch, can't be less than 5 1/4. If I remember right, 5 1/4 or 5 1/2. That usually isn't a problem if you're doing a 12-inch stringer. And this is called the stringer. So what I need to figure out first is the distance from the floor, the basement floor, to my top floor. What is that? So I'm going to get up and measure what that is total, and then we'll talk about having to add a little bit for whatever your flooring is on top. It's a 12-foot basement. I'm going to have stairs coming down through here, a landing with an angled step down to here. So I've got to get a measurement from that flooring up there down here. We're going to grab that. Okay, I'm on the concrete floor down there. I got 157 3/8. You've got to account for what flooring. If you're doing carpet or laminate, about 1/4 inch. If you're doing a 3/4 inch solid hardwood, you've got to figure that 3/4 inch into that so that your tread matches your finished floor height. A lot of people miss this. So we're gonna go with 157.3 and we're gonna go figure that out. We got 157 3/8. Construction Master Pro. I'm gonna take 157 1/2. I already know what it is. Divided by 20 rises. Gives me 7 7/8. So how I figured that out is I want 157 divided by 22. Nope, gonna be more. 157 divided by 21. Getting closer. 157 divided by 20. Okay, so now I know it's going to be 20. 157 inch 1/2 divided by 20. Gives me 7 7/8 on my rise. 7 7/8. I know this is 10 inch. So what I do now is I try to figure out where my start is and where my end is, because you got one more measurement to get before you can do this. That 157 3/8 is probably wrong, and I'll show you why. I've got 20 is a lot of rises, and I don't want to crowd this over here, so I'm going to actually add an angle step right here. Now when you do angle steps, code is this inside measurement right here has to be 4 inches so that your foot on the inside corner has something to land on. 4 inches here, 4 inches here. So what I've done is I've made my mark at 4, made my mark at 4, and then I just run down making a mark every 10 inch. Longer than I need. And I did the same thing running this way. So now I can count my 20, if I have 20 rises, I have 19 treads. Because your top rise is up there. Your last tread is actually the floor. So then I figure out where my start, and what I'll do, I'm kind of cheated already because these tins go all the way to here, and I'm trying to push the stairs as much as I can that way for what's going on upstairs. So I'm not going to use these two. I'm going to start right here, 1, and I number everything because so many times I've gotten confused on what I had going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So now I know my stairs are gonna end right here. Remember, you have one more rise than you have treads always. So let me show you now. The problem is, I measured over there, but my stairs are gonna land right here. And I've seen this change as much as 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna set a laser over there. I'm gonna shoot it over here, see what the difference is in the laser. I'm gonna adjust my 157 3/8. Got my laser on where I know I'm starting, and I've angled it. I can see the dot on the wall where it's gonna go. And then you just measure. I already know what it is. It's 3 and 11/16. 3 and 11/16. Look over here. Probably should clean up a little bit. Just move until I find my laser. Right, it is. We are, wow, 3 and 11/16. Floor is perfect, which that doesn't happen very often. But let's say that was 1/4 inch high, 1/4 inch low. You need to take that off or add to this measurement, because your landing is your total fall from start to finish. Almost always it's different. Okay, so now we know that this 157 3/8 is right. So the next thing is, what is my flooring on top? I know what we're doing. My wife's got it picked out. You should have all your materials picked out before you get to this stage. We're doing a, what's it called, laminate, I can't remember. But anyway, it's 5/16 of an inch tall. So right here on top of this floor, I have an extra 5/16. So I need to add those two together. That's 9/16. So the total is 157 9/16. So that now is my gospel number. I'm going to divide that again in my calculator and get the new measurement. So once again, 157 inch 9/16 divided by 20. 7 and 7/8. But it might be 7 and 23 30-seconds. The calculator is doing this on the 32nd, but it's displaying a 16th, which is important in a minute when we start adding this up. So I want to find the height. My first step is going to be my landing. I got to get that landing set first before I can do stringers, but I got to know how high it is. And if you just hit plus equals, it adds another 7 and 7/8, or whatever the 32nd measurement is. You just keep hitting equals and it will climb its way up the stairs, every rise. So I'll find out how many rises I have from start to landing, find that measurement, mark that on the wall, and I'll show you how to build that landing. While we're right here, there's another headroom. So somewhere in here, you're gonna have your upper floor coming in. Floor joists running this way, right? That dimension right there is another code you've got to hit. Hold on. Minimum headroom clearance is 6'8" or 80 inches, but it's not, you don't measure from wherever you can put the tape on the tread. It's measured from, well, I don't have treads drawn here, but the nose comes out like this. Your treads. So from that nose, you have to draw kind of an imaginary line right here. And that measurement is plumb or vertical from here to the plane of the nose of the treads. It's got to be like this. It's going to be from here to here. And that has to be greater than 80 inches. Don't get close. Go 81, 82 if you have to. You can also figure out your pitch of your stairs. An 8 and 10 comes in at like 34 degrees right here. You can kind of figure out, it's kind of hard to figure out, but you can sort of see if you're getting yourself in trouble. Really common problem is building your stairs and ending up with not enough headroom. So those are the few codes you've got to work with. Now I can just show you how I find those things. We'll build the landing, then we'll build the stairs. If you don't have a landing in your stairs, just skip to the chapter about stair stringer cuts. Okay, you're a little bit overwhelmed, I get it. I got a crutch for you though. Brings me to the sponsor of this video, RedX Apps and the RedX Stairs app. I use it all the time on my jobs, and you pop it open on your phone and you enter your rise and your run, your thickness of your treads, the overhang. You want everything you think of, you can customize, and it'll give you a good diagram of what it is. It'll give you a PDF you can print off and take to the job. It'll give you a 3D model that you can spin around so you can understand where your landing's going to be. I use it all the time. It's great. So if you're interested in that, go to my website or the link in the description. And I've been working with Josh, the creator of the app, and he's giving you a discount or a free trial. And if you're struggling, use the app. It'll help you out a lot. 19 is where my start is, and I've got to get up and build this landing. So I got to get to my first step of the landing. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rises is the height of my landing. I've already got it already. I'm just gonna hit plus equals 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 47 1/4 is where my landing is gonna be. So I'm gonna pull out 47 1/4 from the floor, top of my landing. 47 1/4. But that's to the top of the subfloor, the 3/4 inch flooring. So I'm going to come down 3/4. That's where my deck frame will be. Top of the deck, 47 1/4, but I'm putting 3/4 inch plywood on top, so we're going to be 46 1/2 to my frame. Once I have my deck height, I like to clamp the laser. I'll get that right on that dot. And shooting over here on the wall. Lasers are far better than levels. So I just kind of move that around until I get where I want to be. And then mark that. All the way around here. I'm just going to chop and connect the dots. When you do ICF, it's pretty easy to just stick a nail in there, chop it. Now I have the deck height, framing height of my landing. I'm building my landing across here, and it's got to be square with this wall. I think this wall is a little out, so I made a 2-inch line there, 2x6 down there with the mark at 2 inch. I've lined that up. Now I know everything is perfectly square, and I'll find that wherever that laser is, I'll mark that with my square. Right there. Now I know that perfectly square to come over here. Double check the level, make sure everything's right. Money. Don't be shy on the nails, you gotta hold everybody on here. I left this long because I've got to figure out where this landing comes off. I got to give it on this side. Never done ICF. I'm going to figure out how it's going to work. I'm not sure. ICF has little plastic studs, I guess you could call them, every 6 inches. That's how we're going to mount this. It's not strong enough to hold the landing, and I'll build a wall underneath, but it'll work to get me going right now. So 4 inches from this corner is where my riser needs to be. But you can't, 7 7/8 is down here, so that stringer won't land on this riser. So I hang a piece of 3/4 inch flooring down 15 inches so that I can hang those stringers on this. Point is, you've got to calculate, you got to minus the 3/4. So let's get the laser. Okay, that's my front face of my riser, not my frame. Got to take another 3/4 off of that. So now I know I'm going to cut that off, add another member in there, and then frame across that. Let me show you on the board. The 2x6, it's on the lower landing, but this is still the same principle. 2x6 is here. I don't have anything to mount that stringer to. So that is a 3/4 inch of flooring that hangs down. And this face is what my measurements from, so I've got to make sure to take off that 3/4 inch to my frame. So when I put this in, that's my riser and it's right on the 4-inch mark. Okay? I cut this 1.5 inches shorter because I want to hit that good nailing. I can't do it on that side. Now I do a 16-inch layout here. Before I block this off, I better build this wall or I'm going to have to crawl underneath. No fun. Oops. Alright, got the whole landing built. Built that wall underneath to hold everything. That's my first riser going down. Then I extend this back about 1 foot or so because I've got to have another, as these build up, the other stair stringer is going to land on here. So I cut that floor to come back in here. Then I stack up my pizza slice steps and build my way back. So it's all bearing. Everything's bearing on this landing. So I'll go get a sheet, we'll cut that to fit. Okay, we've got it all figured out of my landing in. Now I've got 5 rises. So when I calculate the 159 divided by 20, it gives me 7 15/16. That's the top of the tread. So if I cut the stringer like that, I put it in, and then I go and add another 1-inch tread here. Now this becomes 8 15/16, and this becomes 6 15/16 because I add an inch. So this is one of the most critical parts of the whole deal. You need to subtract the width of the stair tread off of the bottom so that this whole thing can go down and put the top of our stair tread at our 7-inch, not our 8-inch. We'll bring this down to 7 15, we'll bring this down to 7 15. Also, you've got risers, 3/4 inch risers on every one, except the top, because that's going to go right against whatever member we have on top. So that means we got to take 3/4 out of here to get these to pull back so that this measurement right here ends up 10 inches. If I don't cut that out, my top stair tread will be 10 3/4, and this overhang will be different than these overhangs. So you got to go down and back, 3/4, down, whatever the thickness of your stair tread material is. Mine's going to be 1 1/8 inches. Might be 1.5 inches if you're using 2x4. So we're gonna go up, we're gonna lay out a stringer, then I'll show you how to take these off to make everything work. First thing you gotta do is nail your stringers together. Use an 8-penny nail. Just checking the back side to make sure it's all flush. Put your nails clear back over here so you can make your cuts without getting into your nails. I'm using 4 stringers. I go up to 3 feet, I'll use 3 stringers. As soon as I go over 3 feet, I'll go with 4 stringers. I'm like 42 inches on this one. Those are my rules, not the rules, not the end. I don't know what they do in the industry. Just like that, all nailed together, back side's all flush. Now we can set up our square. So we're going to do this with the framing square. These are called stair gauges. This is the kind of the old style. You just clamp them on there. These are called squid jigs. I bought these because they have this longer tail and it hooks onto the material way better. 7 15/16 is my rise. So I'm just going to put this on here and kind of guess. I'm going to put it on about 8 inch because I need a little room for my pencil width. It's about 10 right there. And then I keep a sharp pencil for this, and then I just check. Make a couple little marks. Inside corner where it's going off. And check. That gives me 7 7/8. I need to add a little there. That's 10 1/16. Too much there, so I'm going to take off. 16th. I'm going to come down on my 10. Do another one. Seven and 7 didn't change. And 7 15. Exactly what I need there. 10 there. So now I've double checked everything. Make sure that it's right. Tighten these down a little. Okay, so I did my rise and run calculation, and I've marked every nose of every tread, because when you take this, if you put this on here and you just slide down and try to line it up with this line, this total length starts to grow. Say if you add a 16th for 12 steps, 3/4 of an inch, it's going to be too long. So I'll use these lines and I'll sort of average the difference. See how that's a little short? So I'll come over like that. Now this one's coming in pretty close. Sometimes it's under, sometimes it's over. It's the only way to keep them straight. Let me lay these out because I can't hold this camera. And you just pick, you know you got a 10-inch top run, so just make sure you have 10 inches of material to make your first mark. That's our first step. Now I like to square down. Usually this falls off, so what I'll do is take my square, go to my intersection right there, flip it over, Okay. Now one of the critical things. Critical. We can use some geometry here. 7 and 15/16 and 10-inch. See if I can do this upside down. 7. Actually, the best thing to do is that's my total rise divided by 20. 7 and 15, but it might be a 32nd. Remember, the calculator's figuring it out way deeper than you are. But I'm going to make that my rise, and I'm going to do a 10-inch run, diagonal 12, and see, 25 30-seconds. I want to do that. I want to know where those are. So I take a mark, I do a little notch with my saw. Let me go over that a little better. That's kind of confusing. You've got your rise and run we figured out, 15/16 and 10-inch. So this is the rise, and this is the run. Pythagorean theorem is what we're doing. A squared b squared equals c squared. I'm not going to do the math. You do it on the calculator. 7 and 5/16 run, 10-inch or 7 and 15/16 rise, 10-inch run, then you hit diagonal, gives you 12 and 5/16. That's this measurement, point to point. Now the reason it's important, if you just run your square and you kind of guess where those two lines intersect, you might add a 1/16 of an inch on every one of these. And if you've got 14 or 15 on a 9-foot basement, that's almost an inch and a half. You won't hit your line where you want to be. So you've got to know exactly where every one of those is. So do that same thing on your calculator, get the rise and run. I actually do the whole deal. I'll take my whole stair, 159, whatever it was, divided by 20, gives me 7 and 15/16, which could be some odd 32nd, the calculator's figuring out. And with that number that I used, then I make that my rise, because it's got the fine details in the calculator. Then I'll add my run, get my diagonal. As soon as it says 12 and 5/16, you hit plus equals, and it'll give you the next one, 25 and blah. The next one, 37 and whatever. All the way down. That will ensure that your stringer will stay the length you want to be. And sometimes your stair might intersect different or long or short or whatever, but it keeps your length running right. I think that's probably the most important part if you're trying to hit two hard points. If you can run wild down on the bottom, it's going to kick your stair a little out of level, but not a big deal. So that's the way I do it. Like my saying, that's the way I do it, but do what you want. 25 30-seconds, I don't know. Then I'm going to hit plus equals again, and it's going to add up this run each step all the way down. I'll explain why that's important. 25 and 9/16 right there. Hit equals again, it adds that original number on. I'm going to do that all the way down, and then I'll show you why. I got those laid out. Now I need 6 rises and 5 steps to get up to my landing. So that means that this is the landing. So that's rise number 1. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I always number everything. It gets too confusing. So I got my 7 and 15/16 to here, right? This is where we got to start subtracting material. Number 1, I got to take off 1 1/8 for my stair tread thickness up here. And then I have to land on a pressure treated green plate on the concrete. That's going to be another 1 1/2 inches. So I'm going to be 1 1/2 plus 1 1/8, 2 5/8 I'm going to take off at the bottom of this. So I'm going to take this, get it all lined up in here. 1 1/2 for my green plate, 1 1/8 for my, wow, it's right on the money. Now I'm just going to extend that through. Doesn't matter which side of the material you're on, it still stays square. So you can see this is much shorter than this one because this all has to drop down. When we put the green plate on the bottom, you'll understand that. Now let's go to the top side. Stair landing. Remember, we have 3/4 inch riser right here. And if I don't cut that thickness out of here, I'll have a 10 3/4 run, which you can't have. So I just hook here, come back to 9 1/4, right there. Maybe this will get me over there. Yep, there. Normally I take the square there, but this camera's in my way. 10-inch run, 10, 10, 10. 9 1/4 to account for the 3/4 riser we're gonna have when we're done. So we'll still be 10. I get my big saw out and cut it. So I use a Bigfoot saw. It's a 10-inch blade, so I can get through more. I see a lot of guys will cut this top one out and then try to put it down there and trace it again. Never going to be as accurate as your blade following through every one. Make sure your saw is really square. I noticed that I don't have a nail right here. When I cut that loose, it's going to move everything. Just start cutting everything out. So that saw will cut through 2 into the 3rd. I've numbered these because say your saw's out of square, you might have a slant to it. You want these to go into the stairs the same order they're sitting on this stack. I got a 1. And I can pull that one out. Knock my nail out. There you have it, number 1. I'll cut the rest of these out. I gotta move some of this stuff, but nothing to see there. I'll just cut 4 of them. Here's the 1.5 inch that I was talking about. It has to be on pressure treated, so that's out. And then I'll add my 1 1/8 stair tread, which will give me a total of 7 15. And then I've got to calculate this, but as you can see, that's where it's gonna sit. There's nothing to nail to. So I'm going to take a piece of 3/4 and run it down to here. I'm going to find that mark, get that measurement, so I have something to put that against. Okay, so we got 7 15/16 rise, right? We're not going to have a stair tread on here. This is my actual finished floor. So we've got to calculate how much we need, top of here, top of here. So we've got the tread, the 1 1/8. We've got the 7 15/16. Don't forget your flooring. I got 5/16 up here. So I'm going to take those 3 measurements, see what we get. I always use the calculator because it's too expensive to screw up. 7 15/16 plus 1 1/8 plus 5/16. 9 3/8. Now where it gets tricky, you can't hook on here because you got flooring to figure. So you're going to go up 5/16 up here, right there, get your 9 3/8. That's right on 9 3/8 right there. I'll mark that. Now when I put my 1 1/8 on here, from the top of my stair tread to the top of my finished floor, 7 15. Now that I got that, I slide this out of the way and I measure from the bottom. It's too hard to angle your tape. So here I got 8 1/8. There's my top of stringer. Now the center one, I just got to line up to that string. I'm going to build a little wall right here. So I'm going to build that. This video will be too long if I show you everything. I'm going to build that wall, then we'll start setting these stringers. You get your stair stringers cut, you get a 2x4. Lay it on here, trace that. Cut it. How that matches the angles of your stair stringer. Stringer's cut, we know where we're going. I got my green plate down. So we're going to take this stringer. We're going to line everything up. If this were a stud wall, you would mark each stud. My line at the bottom of my stringer. We're going to attach that right there. We do the same thing on this side. I'm going to cut this off for my handrail later, so I just need a temporary little guy. Line up the lines. Don't go shy on the nails there, that's what's holding your whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to have number 1 stair tread over here. Number 1 means I need number 4 over here. Number 4. What's the purpose of the 2x4? You've got this 2x4 to kick your stringer off 1.5 inches because you have a 1/2 inch of drywall, and then usually a 3/4 piece of MDF, which makes this skirt along the side. So you need that space. It all gets filled up. Your stair treads will end here. Now I'm gonna screw that on. I gotta build another wall or some other bracing under it. And then we'll put the other 2 in. Got those blocks on, put glue behind it. I shoot from the back with the small gun. And then I'm ready for number 2. Just need to get my stair stringers, but unfortunately they didn't deliver my risers and my treads, so we're going to work on that next 2 steps on that landing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my 7th riser. It's going to be a what you call it, 45. I call it a pizza slice. So I could measure up 7 15/16 minus my 3/4. Build another 2x6 deck that was hanging, not touching here, not down on the ground. But I built the bottom one strong enough to carry everything. So what I'm going to do is figure out how tall this has to be. 7 15/16 minus 3/4, and I'm going to go rip on the table saw some rim board. So it's sitting on here, and I can build this box on there, put my flooring on it. Will be done, good to go. All right, that's what the landing looks like. 7 1/8. Cut it a 1/16 short because it always seems to grow as you glue and nail stuff together. Right down my line. Now I just got to cut a sheet to fit that. Important to remember your overhang. If you have an overhang, I think we're going to end up doing no carpet, so we'll be right to it. So I'll cut that sheet and put it on. Okay, now that I've got my landings in here, I got this last flight to do, but when I get to this point, I'll always pull another measurement. So I'll go from the top of the floor back down. I'll do the whole thing again. I'm coming up with 102 and 6. And that's going to be I bet 6 is 3/4. I do a base 8, so every 8th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if it's a 16th past the 8th, it would be, so 3/4 plus a 6. Say 9/16 would be 4/8 plus a 16th, so it's 4 plus. Anyway, 102 and 6. But I forgot my flooring. That's going to take me to 103. Now I'm going to go recalculate everything I did before. Okay, I got my lower landing in, or lower set of stairs. Got my upper set of stairs, just like the other ones. Everything's the same. I put blocks down here to stiffen these up a little bit. And I've got all my risers cut. So I had a 7 and 15/16 rise. I cut them 7.5. It doesn't matter if there's a little gap on the bottom, and it's easier to get them all lined up. I cut these about 1/4 of an inch shorter than the width, because the finish carpenter, if this is hanging out like this, that finish carpenter's never going to be able to get that stringer down in here. So I like to give him 1/8 of an inch. See that? Give him, meaning me, all the room he can get so that he can get that thing down in there. Because it sucks. I've had to do hours of work when people leave crap like this. Just think about your guy following you. The next thing I do is I'll find the middle riser. Get the middle riser. Bring it down here, just kind of like on a wall. I'll find out. I'll mark where my stringers need to be. Like that. They might be bowed. But the big reason I like to start in the middle is you might have a crown stud, crown meaning banana this way, and a crown stud that way. The center of your stairs could be 1/2 inch wider than the top and bottom. So if you do the center guy first, then you can squeeze or push your stairs or whatever you gotta do to get the center the same as the top and bottom, and then run. On these cold mornings, I put this glue in the truck on the floor. Get it good and hot. It sticks better, flows better, better. I gotta push a little bit. See, I'm a little bit narrower, so I'm gonna push this apart. This one might be kind of hard to see. You want your riser proud of your stringer. Proud in construction means it's overhanging a little bit. It's not under, not flush, it's not under, it's up a little bit. I have like a 1/16 right there that this is above this. Same here. Most important thing is none of these stringers should be higher than your riser. So whatever the highest, sometimes when you cut or you nail funny here, it just doesn't matter, there's always something. Actually, if you look right here, probably 1/8. Make sure nothing is above. Go to your highest point so that your stair tread will bear weight on this riser. If that's 1/8 below, just pay attention when you're putting your stair tread on and load that glue up heavy. Put it on. I don't have my stair treads. I'll hold off on this video till I get the stair treads and I'll show you. Biggest thing is you don't need a ton of nails. The glue, I've had to tear so many stair treads off and I only put 2 nails. And when I tear them off, it just shreds the step into 1,000,000 pieces and stays glued to this. The glue does all the work. These nails are just holding it until the glue sets. More nails equals potential squeaks. So yeah, what's that? Anyway, we're all in. Got 20 rises. I got a double landing pizza slice all the way down. Raked handrail there. I'll build that up later. Took me about twice as long video on it than it does normal. That's how you do it. Getting dark on me, but you can use 3/4 inch flooring. I just rip it 7 15, so I run 7.5 inch. There's a little gap down at the bottom. Cut risers for that. It's just because I have a lot of leftover stuff.